Hi, my name is Malia and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to walk you through this journal that you see here sitting on top of a couple of catalogs. This is just a Dollar Tree or Dollar Spot type notebook. It's lined inside and I use it to keep track of miscellaneous random notes, to-do lists and things like that, and I collage over each page when I'm done with it. Today we're going to use the two catalogs underneath it, one from prAna and one from Title IX, to create a 2-page collage spread. So let's go. And I apologize a little bit if any of the video seems choppy or jumps around. I'm still pretty new to this and my camera isn't the best quality and I don't know how to use it as well as I would like, so I'm still learning. So here you can see some of the pages that I've already collaged over. These are just pages out of, or images out of different catalogs and magazines, as well as little quotes and sentiments. These two pages were made using only a Title IX catalog. I love the two little quotes, emerge and get your backside outside. We are going to collage over these two pages, and as I said, we're going to be using these two catalogs. I love both of these brands. They're excellent for sustainability, for comfort, for pretty diverse models, and so on. And I love that they both use real people. So some of the things that I look for when I'm using a catalog or a magazine are images that appeal to me, whether it's a pattern or a quote like here. I'm not going to use the entire quote that I'm tearing out. Instead, later in the video you'll see me cut out just the part that says high performance, low drama. I also look for scenes, colors, anything that I might want to use in the catalog, the collage. Right here I'm looking at the pattern on this top. That's really pretty. I generally pull out well over 3-4 times as much as I think I'll actually use, and I play around with them later when I'm getting ready to put my collage together. Sometimes I'll flip past a page like this and think, oh, I don't want to use that, and then I'll immediately change my mind and go back to it. I love this image, a strong woman getting ready to surf out and have a nice day. I also use my hands to block out portions that I might not want to use, or to see if something looks the way I think it will look if I cut out the rest of the image. I'm not really looking for solid blocks of color in today's collages, so I skip over some of the things that would leave solid blocks of color, and instead I'm looking for outdoorsy scenes and fun patterns. Spot on this one where it says, "This mama can cook." I just thought that was kind of funny. I like the phrase, even though it's literally about a woman featured in the catalog and her cooking and life, and I find a way to use that in our collage at the end. On those two pages I found two things that I liked. One is a pattern on a duffel bag, and I saved the rest of that page because I like the pattern on the top also. But I also, in the corner of one of these pages, it said "in good company," and I saved that for another collage later. I love this pattern on that skirt. I have several of those skirts, actually skirts, and I highly recommend them. Moving on to the prAna catalog, I found a lot less in this catalog that I used in my collage, but I did also find some items and pages that I will save for other future collages. That picture of the beach, the ocean, the cliffs behind it. Reminds me of a couple of trips that my son and I have taken down the California coast. initially on this page I was drawn to the little image that's in the top corner, and you'll see me block it out with my hands. I did save that for a future use, but in the end I used other aspects of that page for today's collage. I love the tile in the background of this page and definitely wanted to incorporate that into my collage. Now that I've chosen all my images, knowing that I'm not going to use all of these, it's time to cut them out and prepare them for my page. Sometimes I'll find an entire quote that I want to use, other times I'll only find part of a quote or a few words, and I just cut out the pieces that I need. High performance, low drama, I love that. That's what I want for my life. What kinds of phrases, words, and quotes appeal to you? Drop a comment and let me know. There's that tile again. I love it. I thought it would make a really pretty border for one of the pages. I also recently got an acrylic stamp set that is mosaic tiles that I can't wait to use. I just haven't quite decided how I want to use them or what project to use them on. That page where I thought I would use the image in the corner. I do cut it out, but instead I ended up really liking the plants that are on the two sides of the woman, as well as the art supplies that are down near her feet. When you're making a collage or a piece of art, it's totally okay to just make it up as you go, to change your mind, to go in a different direction than you originally planned. Like I said, I originally planned to use that little image in the corner and ended up using several other elements from this page instead. I think that's one of the joys of art, and one of the ways to enjoy a lot of life is to be willing to change your mind and make things up as you go. I apologize for some of this being off camera. I didn't realize I wasn't fully in the camera lens, and also had some issues while editing and had to cut out some of my screen. As I said, this is a learning process. And I will link them in the comment or in the description box. I have two different pairs of the same scissors. I love the blades. Also, one of the things that I like about these scissors is that the blade from the pivot point to the end of the blade is short enough that they are TSA compliant, and you can take them in your carry-on luggage when you fly. Although I've heard that due to COVID-19, several airline carriers are tightening up, allowing carry-on luggage, and a few may be going to absolutely no carry-ons other than maybe like a purse or something like that. Drop a comment and let me know if you had travel plans that were interrupted by COVID-19. I was supposed to take 2 trips this summer, one to London and with a side trip to Paris and a small village outside of Paris, as well as a trip to Chicago. Both have been postponed until next summer. Hopefully by then the world will have a better grip on COVID-19 and we'll be able to have a better semblance of a normal life. Fingers crossed. Right here, these 2 tank tops, I cut off the tops of them and I'm not separating out the 2 floral pieces. The tops, the armholes and the scoop neck, I knew that I would not need to use those, so I just cut right across. This little piece, In Good Company, I love that sentiment, and I'm going to cut that out, and I knew as I was cutting it out that I would not be using it for this collage. Instead, I will be putting that in my planner on a spread where I have a photo of my son and I. I do a similar technique in my weekly, monthly planner as I do in this journal, where I collage over pages after I'm done using them. If you want to see my journal spreads and some of the other art projects and things that I do, head over to Instagram. My handle there is Malia Loves the PNW. I love this girl's top so much that I'm thinking about ordering it. I'm just not totally sure yet. But I love the pattern and thought it would be good in a collage. Again, I'm cutting across the top because I knew I wouldn't need to use those armholes or the scoop neck. And that floral pattern, again, another top and pattern that I love. I apologize if you can hear the streetcar and the bells and whatnot in the background. I live on a very busy street and generally keep my patio door open because I like the sounds of the city. I find them comforting, I find them invigorating. I love living in the city. I love the mountains, I love the ocean, I love plenty of time alone, but I really do truly love living in an urban area. Let me know in a comment if you live in a city, a town, out in the woods, on a farm, and where do you like to spend your time? Do you always like being in a city or always in the mountains, or do you like to go back and forth between one and another? I'm curious how other people live and how they like to fill their time. So now I'm just using a bunch of the elements that I pulled out. I know I want some outdoor scenes. But I don't want all of these active scenes. So I'm playing around with my images, the main images, and elements that I know will be in the background and deciding what I want to put where. And again, it's okay if you lay something down and decide, you know what, I don't really like that, and move it around, or decide just not to use it entirely. There are several items that I thought I would use in this layout that I just didn't use at all. Instead, I saved them for a future project. Initially, I thought I would want the woman on the bicycle on the right. You'll see shortly that I put her on the left, and I think that image looks much better on the left in the end. There's those tiles again, trying to figure out how to frame them. You can't see the bottom of the page, but it was a little too long to perfectly frame out the page. And that's okay. You just cut and trim and find a way to make it work or make a different choice. A few guiding principles that I do have for collages, though, are that you should make it your goal to fill the entire page. It just is a little bit more visually interesting, a little more finished looking. And then you should also decide, do you want it to be really complex, somewhat simple, or somewhere in the middle? You see there, I used my finger to sort of pinch it where I need to cut the top F off to make it fit the page. Despite my guiding principles, though, your collage is your collage, and you should feel free to take care of your page however you want to. I really like having a main focal image but I do have several collages I've done where I was just playing. I didn't really have a focal image. I just wanted to play with color or play with pattern or a theme. I'll share some of those in a future video. I love the way these tiles look though, so I knew that I definitely wanted to use as much of that trimmed piece as I could. Now when I start gluing my pieces, because I'm gluing on the edges of into a notebook, I want to make sure that the edges, the outer edges of the page, that things are glued down really well. I love these disappearing purple glue sticks from Elmer's because they let you see exactly where you're putting your glue, and once it dries, you don't see it at all. I do a little bit on the inner side, and then on the outer edge I make sure I'm all the way at the edge. I want to get a really good seal there so that as you flip through, the images don't peel up and rip or get damaged. And then just a little bit more in the center just to hold it down. I don't go all the way around all the edges because I want to be able to slip things underneath when I go around the border. Now I'm gluing down that border piece. Just making sure I have it in position. And when I have bigger pieces like this, I like to only glue down a part of it while holding it down with my hand, holding down the rest of it with my hand so it doesn't move around too much. And then I can just flip up the other piece and glue that down. I'm not as worried about gluing all the way to the edge near the spine because I did leave a tiny little gap that you can see between the spine and where my cutout begins, so I'm not too worried about damage towards the inner side of the page, if that makes sense. This last little piece was a little too long to fit in the bottom there. You can't really see it, but I do cut off a small piece of it. I managed to almost forget to glue in the little cutout piece that I cut off right here. I end up using a little square on the other page, which didn't make it into the video, but did give it a very fit feel for me. I'll discuss that a little bit more towards the end of the video. If you like the music that I'm using in this video, please go down to the description box and follow the artist on YouTube. Find them on their Spotify or other social media and accounts. I love this music. I love sort of the end. I actually have followed this artist on their social media because I enjoy the background music and just having it playing when I'm doing art and collages and things like this. I'm trying to figure out which pattern I want to put here up in this corner. This is why I didn't glue down the top. I want to be able to slip things underneath rather than worry about having a straight edge and gluing them down perfectly to meet that image. It's a lot easier if you don't glue down the top or the edge so that you can layer. I'm just cutting a piece down to size so that it will be easier to get in there, and also cutting off a piece that I don't want to use right there. Slipping it under, just very, very gently pulling back that one corner at the edge, making sure it fits all right. And instead of cutting the entire piece down, I'm going to glue it down, making sure I get my glue all the way to the edge, and then I'll go back afterwards and cut off the excess. I'm not worried about cutting it perfectly though, because I'm doing this project just for myself. If I was doing it as a commission or a gift or something like that, I would be a lot more careful. Oops, sorry about that little glitchy part right there. Okay, there's the glue I like to use. My Fiskars scissors. I love these scissors, so easy to use. They're really good if you enjoy fussy cutting or really fine cutting. I do like to cut around the edge of because the corners are rounded. I just think it makes it look a little nicer when you have the journal closed. And that little corner, that little piece I cut off, I will trim it down later and use it on the opposite page, although, like I said, it didn't make it into the video. the top a little bit. Where I knew that I wanted to use that high performance low drama sentiment, pulling out the sentiments that I have and playing around with the placement, although I knew pretty quickly where I wanted to put this one. I am gluing over the other page because I know that I'm going to use that as the backing for my second collage, and I'm not really concerned with that glue being on the page since it's going to be collaged over. Although do be careful that if you move the piece, you don't accidentally move it on top of where the glue went off of the little cutout. You don't want to accidentally glue your cutout in the wrong spot. I love how that looks. High performance, low drama. I recently bought a bicycle and I've been trying to get back in shape, but I've also been really evaluating what do I want in life, what's important to me, and being high performing in my interests, in my work, and with low drama in my interests, my work, and my life are really two pretty big goals. So now I'm figuring out what to do on the other page. Again, just playing around with the pieces. You'll see that I do quite a bit more playing around here than I did on the other page. It took me a few minutes to decide where I wanted to put that little piece and if I wanted to show the bottom of it or not. Ultimately, I end up cutting it down a bit more before I place it. And I just double checked the back there for a second to make sure I wasn't missing something that might have been worth using. One of the things that I really like to do in collaging is to layer. I think layering images, patterns, colors really gives your piece some depth and interest. I wish I'd had this framed out a little bit better so you can see better what I'm doing at the bottom. There's a little piece that I cut off from the other page. I'm repurposing it. Or actually I cut it off of one of the images on the other page and I'm repurposing it down there on the bottom right corner. I was a little annoyed right here that that the ocean piece wasn't quite wide enough to fill the space the way I wanted it to. So I just took a little bit more of the floral pattern and tried to see how I could fit that in to fill the gap. Now, if your collage piece is starting to get complex and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to glue this down? Take a photo of it. And there's a little square again from the tiles that I forget to glue down before I finish the video. I went back and added it in later. So I'm taking a picture and I'm going to set that aside and use it as a reference until I have some of the main pieces glued down so that I don't forget where things are supposed to go. Can't really see it right now, but I just glued down some of that blue tank top piece with the white flowers on it. I like that the top left on the opposite page and the bottom right on this page are the same pattern. I like that repetition. without having them right next to each other. I think it adds a nice balance by having something at the top corner of one page and the bottom corner of the other page. By having the same pattern on the two corners, it helps your eye take in the piece as a whole, but also it helps your eye to not bounce around trying to follow all these different patterns. I think a little bit of continuity from page to page is really helpful. You'll also notice that I don't have any patterns that are really dramatically different in terms of color. Nothing is too crazy or wild. I've got a lot of greens, a lot of blues, and then shades of brown and tan. Everything on the page sort of flows from one to the next in terms of color and pattern. Of course, if you want to do a crazy collage, go for it. I've done plenty of those in my day as well. And sometimes I do a crazier collage depending on my mood. Again, because I'm at the edge of the page, I'm trying to make sure that across the top my glue goes all the way to the edge. The top piece a little bit here, I bent the page over, or the trimmed image over, but I didn't fold it, just to make sure that I got the glue in the places where I wanted. That crooked, I was able to lift it up pretty quickly and get it repositioned. And other than that little square that I forgot to glue down before I stopped my camera, I add another little sentiment. This mama can cook, after I do some trimming here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I cut out quite a bit of the trimming and cutting of my images, but if you'd like to see all of that and see everything involved, let me know and I'll do a complete video rather than editing some of that out. Total, with all the cutting and trimming of pieces and images from the catalogs, this probably took me about 45-50 minutes. Although, as you could see, the actual collaging of putting the pieces together took substantially less than that. For more collage videos, art videos, drawing videos, and travel journals, I would love it if you would subscribe and come back. And with that, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video, and we'll check out some others.